Hi, I'm Kelly Kramer.
And I'm Scott Sipker. Welcome to Red Haw State Park in southern Iowa.
And our springtime edition of Iowa Outdoors.
Coming up on this edition of Iowa Outdoors, we'll journey alongside an elite team of severe weather aficionados with a profile of the Iowa Storm Chasing Network.
We now have 2 tornadoes on the ground at once, 2 at once.
We spend the entire night outdoors for a military-style workout regimen known as GoRUCK. And from the prairies to the woodlands, we enjoy springtime wildflowers through the lens of Tom Rosburg.
We'll have all that and more.
So sit tight. Iowa Outdoors is about to begin.
Funding for Iowa Outdoors is provided by the Claude P. Small, Catherine Small Cousins, and William Carl Cousins Fund at the Lincoln Way Community Foundation in Clinton County to support nature programming on Iowa Public Television.
Many of Iowa's natural wonders you'll find on IPTV can be found in Iowa Outdoors magazine, the Iowa DNR's premier resource for conservation, education, and recreation activities. Subscription information can be found online at iowadnr.gov.
The signs of spring can surround your senses with a medley of activity. The smell of fresh grass, warm breezes, and a welcome explosion of color, like the redbuds here at Red Haw State Park.
But with that beauty comes danger. Shifting spring temperatures create a battleground between warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico and cold, dry air from Canadian storm fronts. And Iowa is right in the middle.
While it may be terrifying to the average citizen, a handful of Iowans eagerly anticipate this weather window to drive headfirst into the rain and hail. They're called storm chasers, and Iowa is home to one of the most elite teams around, the Iowa Storm Chasing Network.
This small band of thrill seekers does what few others could fathom. Get up close and personal with the destructive tornado and share the danger with all of us.
There's definitely an attraction to seeing something that the rest of the world doesn't get to witness. It's really a special feeling. You know, there's adrenaline in there, but there's also a sense of awe. There's just so many emotions that are going through your head when you see these incredible sights.
Iowa falls all too easily into the old saying, don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. The problem is sometimes those weather changes take a turn for the severe, and that's what inspired the Iowa Storm Chasing Network. Started in 2008 by Nick Wyig and Ben McMillan, 2 friends with a passion for weather, the group's first chase came with one of the most devastating tornadoes in recent Iowa history, the Appleton-Parkersburg EF5 tornado.
We were on a normal storm spotting mission, I guess you could call it. You know, we were looking up at the sky, we had a weekly rotating wall cloud, and at that point we were just calling it in as a normal tornado. We reported out to the folks in Johnston at the National Weather Service. Little did we know it was going to turn into that mile-wide killer tornado that so few tornadoes turn into.
The video and pictures Nick and Ben were able to share online help meteorologists and local officials understand the magnitude of the monstrous tornado headed Parkersburg's way. And in the moments leading up to an encounter with the tornado, advanced warning can be the difference between life and death.
The unfortunate thing is people get very used to seeing a meteorologist on a TV screen pointing at a storm saying, be careful, this is dangerous. They don't take the appropriate action to keep their families and themselves safe.
Preparing the unknowing public for the danger headed their way is specifically what storm chasing is all about.
Sometimes that extra piece of information is enough to push someone into action to take some of those safety measures that everyone talks about. Go to the lowest level of your home, put as many walls between you and the storm as possible. And if, you know, in an ideal situation, if you have an underground shelter, go to it.
Since 2008, the Iowa Storm Chasing Network has grown from its 2 founders to now include 3 forecasters and 4 storm chasers. And instead of just focusing on Iowa, the team now chases tornadoes across the Mid and Southwest. And as thrill-seeking as its crew might be, none of it would be possible without the team tank, Dorothy.
It's a tornado intercept vehicle. It's built to withstand strong winds. It has flaps that goes down to the ground and anchors it. The windows are a 1/2-inch polycarbonate, so the windows are bulletproof. And then it has a 1/4-inch Line-X coating, which will stop a 9mm bullet alone. So there's a lot of armor between us and the outside. And we have a 2013 Ford Explorer, which has all our live streaming capabilities and is our forecasting operations basically on the road.
Dorothy and her crew have become quite popular over the years, with both kids and adults being eager to get up close and personal with the team's weather tank. So every year, when severe weather season comes to an end, the team travels the state educating Iowans on the danger of severe weather. And yes, letting curious minds get a good look inside Dorothy.
Kids are so involved in weather. You know, they love storm chasing videos. They've seen the Discovery Channel show. They've seen Twister. They love it whenever they can talk to a storm chaser. And so it's a joy to talk to all the little kids, even if they have personal stories, to hear what their testimonials are, that it makes them love the weather as well as our passion. Who's seen a white tornado? Or no?
Storm chasers take their appearances very seriously. Beyond teaching the science of tornadoes and giving tours of Dorothy, the greatest message the team hopes to get across is not only what to do in the event of a tornado, but what not to do, which means they spend a good amount of their time busting tornado safety myths.
Wind speeds actually increase underneath an overpass bridge and throws debris at a higher rate of speed and can actually suck you out. So being underneath an overpass is not a good place to be. Do not open your windows before a tornado. You're wasting time. Every minute counts, so take those minutes and use them wisely and take shelter. Put as much material between you and the outside wall as possible. Cover your hands and neck and make sure you wear your shoes during a tornado. So those are just a few of the bigger myths that have been debunked.
One of the major byproducts of showing off the team tank and streaming live video from beneath a tornado is untrained thrill seekers wanting to join the storm chasing fray. However, Zach says it's not a hobby to enter into lightly or without proper guidance.
What mother would not want their kid to go out there and put themselves in harm's way? As my mom told me, it is a fun hobby, but it's not meant for everyone, as it is a very dangerous hobby. If you do want to go storm chasing, go with someone that has gone before. Never go by yourself, and never go if you haven't gone before. If you're putting yourself to Mother Nature's fury, you can get in trouble.
And anyone considering becoming a storm chaser should know it does not pay well.
We're definitely not doing this to get rich. You have to be passionate about what you're doing out there. You have to have a love for weather.
We all have part-time jobs to full-time jobs. We have to have jobs that are pretty lenient. I also work full-time as a college student, going toward a degree in meteorology.
Storm chasing is a hobby. Sure, there's a good amount of thrill-seeking and excitement that comes with being up close and personal with a tornado. But it is a service that the most brave among us provide.
We want to document tornadoes and we want to get the word out about them. And we don't want to see the violent ones, but they're part of the picture. They're part of what we do. And we can't, expect just because we don't want to see something not to happen. We just got to be prepared for whatever comes our way. And in the end, I think, you just have to, it's either you quit if you don't want to see it anymore, or you keep going and you deal with it.
And chasers do end up seeing some truly historic weather.
We tracked a storm that started around Stanton, Nebraska, and it had a large, mile-wide tornado on the ground, something we've seen before. But what happened next was really quite historic and something we'd never seen before. It actually formed a second tornado as the storm moved east near the town of Pilger. So we had two strong tornadoes, turning across the countryside, and they were rated EF4, which is the second strongest tornado on the scale in terms of how we rate these things. In terms of the release of energy that was happening off the Earth's surface that day, in my opinion, it was unprecedented. It's something I'd never seen.
While some tornadoes are awe-inspiring, others are hair-raising and ultimately lethal weather events, including the 2013 tornado that nearly leveled the town of Moore, Oklahoma.
Moore was probably the hardest tornado I have ever seen because I saw it coming from a long way away. And you see this thing develop out in the country. You see it on the horizon coming towards you. And you just know that no matter what you do, most likely everyone is not going to get the warning. That's really hard when you're trying with every ounce of energy you have to help get the word out that there's something bad coming when people still, end up losing their lives.
There's no way around it. Storm chasing is dangerous. Whether it's driving into 250-mile-per-hour winds or dodging debris rocketing out of a tornado, storm chasers are risking their lives gathering weather data. In 2013, 3 storm chasers, close to the Iowa crew, lost their lives chasing a tornado in Oklahoma, and that team was considered among the safest crews on the road.
Tim, Carl, and Paul were the best in the business, in my opinion. They were on the top of their game. They were conducting record-breaking weather research. These guys were on the cutting edge. You know, no one ever in a million years expected what happened, and to this day, I think we're all still trying to deal with it.
It affected our team very deeply, and so after that, you know, we tried to continue on their legacy on our dashboard. Beginning of every storm chase season, Tim would put a cheeseburger on his dashboard, and he would take it off as soon as he saw a tornado. So, and in memory of Tim, until we see a tornado, then that cheeseburger will be removed from our dash.
Knowing firsthand the risks that come driving headlong into a tornado's path, the Iowa Storm Chasing Network continues its work because there's simply nothing like being a storm chaser.
You know, Mother Nature produces some spectacular views, and being a storm chaser, you get to see less than 5% of people get to see what we get to see in our lifetime. So it's an amazing opportunity to be a storm chaser.
Another sign of spring, the sidewalks and trails of your community are full of Iowans shaking off the winter rust. But it isn't just average citizens. Outdoor conditioning is part of some of the most aggressive workout plans administered to our nation's finest soldiers.
An outdoor adventure course inspired by Special Forces training is now offered to Iowans who want to take their exercise to the next level of mental and physical exhaustion. We followed one band of Iowans who took this experience head on, or as they call it, GoRUCK. It's 9 o'clock on a Friday night. A small group of people huddles in downtown Des Moines for initial instructions to begin their overnight GoRUCK Tough Challenge.
I think it's time for me to push myself outside my comfort zone, and that's really what I'm looking for. I'm hoping that tomorrow morning, when this is all said and done, or tomorrow afternoon, that I will have learned a new level of pushing myself, and then being able to take that and learn how to push other people.
The first phase is the welcome party. It involves equipment inspections for safety and physical training to assess each person's fitness level. GoRUCK began as an equipment company, making durable rucksacks or backpacks carried by military personnel. Eventually, challenge events like this one started, giving participants a taste of special operations training. Each person must carry a rucksack. Inside is 20 or 30 pounds of weight, depending on how much the person weighs.
It's the greatest team building event I've ever done. You can get a group of strangers or a group of friends, and you're going to come together to figure out things that most people would never fathom.
Ayn Pavic has done 27 GoRUCK challenges. She signed up for 29 more this year.
Come on. Honestly, a few years ago, I had an accident, shattered my face, told by 6 doctors I should have died, and I'm like, I'm going to stop being afraid of stuff. Just doing what you don't think you can and realizing you just did it anyway.
Despite first impressions, this is not boot camp. It's a team challenge.
Come on, you can do it. You got this. You got it. You got it. There you go. See?
After about 90 minutes, the welcome party is over. Before moving on to the next phase, Brett decides to withdraw.
That was epic. It was an epic challenge, and I gave it all I had. I do have asthma. I don't like to think of it as a limitation, but in today's challenge, it absolutely got the best of me. So for medical reasons, I just didn't feel it was safe for me to continue.
You need to move together.
A cadre is in charge. We agreed not to identify this cadre or show his face for safety and security reasons. He's an active duty special operations soldier, a Green Beret who spent time in the Middle East and shares his real-life military experiences and training with the group throughout the challenge.
Definitely like the military aspect of it too. The fact that's put on by actual either vets or people still enlisted. I think that's pretty interesting too, because from what I can tell, you learn quite a bit from them as you're going along.
The next several hours involve movement and missions. The first takes the team to Gray's Lake. The task involves moving up and over a building, and then through water, covering themselves head to toe in sand to prevent reflections and create camouflage. and moving slowly and quietly through the water to avoid being spotted by the enemy. The target is enemy artillery on the other side of the lake. The make-believe artillery is really a heavy log, and once they've secured it, the team has 1 hour to get the artillery, or log, to a drop point about 3 miles away inside Waterworks Park.
Okay, go straight. And then pass it over. There's a cable coming up. We're gonna go over top the cable. All right. Careful with the log.
We're going to take this position over here first.
The team arrives at the destination and begins the next mission, carrying more heavy logs, which represent equipment, to a pretend helicopter drop point in a certain amount of time.
Keep at the hips real quick. Ready? Yeah.
It's dark, it's raining, and each team member digs deep for strength.
Hey man, one time, lift that up.
The Ruckers got a taste of special operations training and lessons in teamwork, leadership, and communication.
While you're walking, you can be talking, trying to figure out a solution.
The cadre says the team could have worked together better on the last mission. As a result, they do more physical training. There's one final mission. They break into 2 groups and help each other advance through an area to pick up 2 casualties and carry them out of harm's way. GoRUCK is about teamwork, knowing they're capable of so much more as a team than any person individually. People of all ages, fitness levels, and backgrounds participate in GoRUCK challenges. They've pushed themselves, tested their limits, done things they never thought they could do. It's just after 9 a.m. Saturday when they reach the end. The GoRUCK challenge covered 12 hours and about 18 miles.
I'm exhausted. I mean, it's mentally, physically, everything. It was fun. It was better than I expected, I think. I think when I kind of expected that that'd be more just, coming out here and beating your heads against, the bricks and just kind of working out nonstop. But it was a good, we had the chance to kind of pull together as a team and do some learning and stuff. And that was I thought, more valuable to me, I thought.
I think everybody had their own purpose, that you kind of dig down deep. When you get to that point, you have to think about it, and I think that's what got everybody through it.
Will you do it again?
No, I'm sure. Yeah, I will. I'm regretting it right now, my feet are, but yeah, I'll do it again.
Some of my favorite ones you learn the most. There's some events where it's more about the beatdown and others where it's more about learning, and I thought this was great. I'd say just do one. The hardest part is signing up. You get there, you have no idea what you're going to do, and you just do it.
Hey, great job. Okay, ready?
The return of spring means a comeback of sorts for a key ecological habitat in Iowa, the tall grass prairie. With its eclectic mix of colors and shapes, the flowers of our prairies provide a much-needed splash of color.
One botanist uses his research acumen with photography to give new life to an iconic outdoor book and bring the world of wildflowers directly to Iowans. For prairies and woodlands of Iowa, spring is a time of rebirth. For Tom Rosburg, it's a time of rediscovery.
Plant people like myself are botanists, in a sense. We like to see as many plants as we can, and I don't know if people keep life lists, so to speak, but like birders, finding new birds, finding new plants is kind of the same thing. There's a lot of adventure and a lot of excitement. I'm always looking for new plant species to photograph. When you spend your life in Iowa photographing plants, it's always nice to find some new species that you haven't had a chance to photograph before. So rather than necessarily shoot individual portraits of individual plant species, another way of thinking about plant photography, one that I like to do as much as I can, is to look for areas where I can do sort of group pictures.
Still capturing nearly all of his work on film, Tom's process is methodical.
Check depth of field, set exposure. F22. Film has very small amount of leeway with exposure.
But his work goes far beyond pleasant images, including more than 3 decades as a wildlife biologist for the Bureau of Land Management in Wyoming, the Fish and Wildlife Service in Colorado, and later, the Iowa Department of Natural Resources. His experience tracks diverse ecological environments with a modern-day focus on the prairie and woodland landscapes found right here in Iowa.
Image size is fairly large and pretty much encompasses just the top part of the plant here, getting these flowers and this leaf here.
All right. An early love of photography melded perfectly with the day job of a wildlife biologist and his free time, both spent outdoors.
This one I might use a horizontal format rather than vertical to try to bring in this line of bluebells like this.
Tom's botanical insight and calm demeanor embody his favorite peaceful days on the prairie. That plant-based acumen paired with a lifetime of photographing stationary subjects prepared him for a perfectly appropriate project: Iowa's quintessential wildflower field guides.
Another plant photographed.
Originally published in the late 70s and 80s, these cherished field companions were a mainstay for hikers and explorers of the Midwestern woodland and prairie landscapes. Penned in part by legendary naturalist Sylvan Runkle, the guides were an ecological touchstone for Tom. And when the book publisher came calling for a fresh update, he jumped at the opportunity.
I think, one thing that maybe University of Iowa Press was thinking about when they redid that or revised it was, of course, all new images of plants, but also maybe to have more consistency, sort of a style. Yeah, so this is really a nice representation of the herbaceous layer in an oak forest, first part of May.
His keen eye was an essential match for a guidebook destined to be the authority on plant species, growing environments, textures, size, and shape.
And trying to represent a portrait of the plant in the best way possible to illustrate the plant's beauty, its form, its structure, its identity. This is a guidebook, so you want to be able to ensure that the plant is correctly identified, of course.
Across multiple republished guidebooks, Tom's fresh work joined that of Iowa photographers Larry Stone and Carl Kurtz, as well as Bob and Linda Scarth. But joining the legacy of Sylvan Runkle's original guidebooks and visually adapting them for a new generation was a personal and professional triumph.
All the information that Sylvan put into, all the work he put into those books with respect to ethnobotany, that was sort of his forte, educating people about how native plants were used. It's really nice, yeah, to be able to help get those books back out there in print. Well, one thing that's nice about going back and looking at a book like this that I've worked on is I can remember every picture I took and where I was and what things were like that day. This one was in the Les Hills. Wild quinine, yes, this one was photographed at Neil Smith Wildlife Refuge. And now inside the tent here, everything is calm and perfect diffuse light.
Nowadays, Tom has not slowed down. He balances his role as professor of ecology and botany at Drake University with numerous field research projects in prairies, woodlands, and wetlands. He's already tackling guidebooks for Luss Hill flora and sand prairies of the Mississippi River Valley, among others. All places you may find Tom Rosburg rediscovering nature's beauty with methodical patience and a sense of peace found in Iowa's outdoors. That wraps up this springtime edition of Iowa Outdoors. We encourage you to rediscover our beautiful state parks like Red Haw in southern Iowa. And if you're planning your outdoor summer travel, check out our extensive video archive of adventures across Iowa at iptv.org/Iowa Outdoors.
Our 5th season of Iowa Outdoors will continue with monthly installments throughout 2015 with stories from every corner of our state. We'll leave you now with some images of springtime in Iowa.
Funding for Iowa Outdoors is provided by the Claude P. Small, Catherine Small Cousins, and William Carl Cousins Fund at the Lincoln Way Community Foundation in Clinton County to support nature programming on Iowa Public Television.
Many of Iowa's natural wonders you'll find on IPTV can be found in Iowa Outdoors magazine, the Iowa DNR's premier resource for conservation, education, and recreation activities. Subscription information can be found online at iowadnr.gov.